And that was on depression and anxiety. So I spoke about anxiety 2 lives ago, and I want to just add now something on depression, why people are depressed. And I want to link it with one specific aspect, and that is purpose in life. So one of the important things of depression is that you feel hopeless. You feel hopeless and worthless. That's another point. Hopeless meaning you don't see a future ahead, and worthless, your personal worth seems to be, you seem to be insignificant or worthless then, or not of much value to society or to your people around you, and then you feel like you are dispensable. So, and life is not worth it. Now, if you go and have a look at depression, and I've got programs on depression, there is a okay, a question came through here. I'm going to address it a bit later. So there is in cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the well-known therapies that's evidence-based, you will find that they usually start off addressing depression with behavioral activation, saying that yes, you feel depressed because there's a lot of reasons for it, but usually when you're depressed, you've become passive, you're not meeting your own needs, you're not reaching out, you're isolating yourself. So they want to activate you, they want to get you to start to do positive things, interact with people again, even though you don't have strength for it. You just feel like disappearing and just hiding in a sense, or just sitting and just leave me alone kind of thing. What happens there is that people get to a place where it becomes so hard to do stuff that is actually good for them. But so as in psychology, we start there. We try to get them to do stuff that is good for them. But then I usually find when it, in my own life, I found it, and with many of my clients, when they get to a place where there's frustration, life seems pointless, that I have found that it's also got to do with purpose. And purpose has to do with your future. That's why the hopelessness. Now, when you don't have hope, that means there's nothing in your future to look forward to. But then there's also not a good enough reason to endure the suffering that you're going through at the moment. So that means you have to, if you do not want to be depressed, one of the ways that you can work against depression is by actually finding a reason to live. Now, I just read a comment today of somebody from World War II who was a prisoner of war caught by the Japanese, an American soldier, and there was a dog in the prison camp, and he bonded with that dog, and that dog made a huge difference in the lives of those prisoners and in his own life, and they both kept each other alive. Now that's a human reason, and that's a good one, but there's an even greater reason, and the Bible talks about purpose. The life of a Christian has a lot of purpose, especially with eternity in mind. Hebrews 12 talks about Jesus enduring the cross because his eyes were set upon the joy. It says there was joy that he was looking forward to, and therefore he endured the cross and despised the shame thereof. Meaning he didn't regard the shame and said, it's horrible, it's shameful, I'm going to stop. He thought of something else. If you think of somebody running the comrades, they're thinking of the finishing line. They're thinking of the glory. They're thinking of how great it's going to be, and therefore they endure the pain. There's a greater reason that they're doing this, that they're almost sense punishing themselves. So life is hard as it is, but to have a greater reason to live makes life worth living, and it gives you then worth as well, because now you're fighting for something greater than yourself. So and that will immediately work against depression. So one of the things that I've found, now I'm not giving a whole explanation of everything on depression, I'm just adding this specific thing of purpose and depression, that it is that when you do have purpose, and it can be earthly, anything on the earth as well, but I'm now focusing on the eternal because it's just so great. When you do find that the Lord has given you a purpose in life, that there's a reason that you are born, that you that you are here not by accident, as atheists believe. You're not a blob of a lot of chemicals and stuff and cells that just randomly appeared. You are here made on purpose, designed, and therefore you have a purpose, as my mobile phone is designed and has a purpose. So it's similar to you. So you have a very definite reason for being here. And then if you are designed, that means there's a designer, and that means you did not design yourself. You didn't design yourself. You know that. You just, in a sense, whoop, one day realized you're here. So you can clearly see that you are designed. And then you're unique as well. So you've got to find that with the Lord. What is my purpose? What is my purpose within your greater plan? And how does my life make sense to you? So it is wonderful to find that and to find your purpose. And I have seen how that changes people. So when you find your purpose and the Lord comes to touch you in that sense, then that changes your life, and it gives you that, works against the hopelessness, gives you strength to endure pain, even persecution. If you go and look at Christians who are persecuted for their faith, they endure a lot of pain because they've got this hope. And we can actually then strive towards, Paul says, Paul the Apostle, that there's glory awaiting you. So that glory, in the sense like the comrades guy is awaiting that glory, is pushing himself, is motivated, is talking to himself in that sense. So when you hear the purpose of the Lord, how it fits in with his greater kingdom purpose, your life, and what a difference it's going to make in eternity, and how it's going to save souls and impact people, and the Lord's going to use you, that is great purpose. And it works against the lies of the enemy, that you are an accident, that you are just here, that your life means nothing, that you've just got to live for pleasure and die tomorrow and whatever. What was it, the point? Because otherwise it's utterly pointless life. And actually some atheists actually said that, some atheist philosophers admitted that to the core of the atheistic worldview, it is utterly pointless life. So, and then that is actually a heap of depression. But if you have incredible purpose like this, the Christian view offers that. So it is incredible. It works against depression. And it helps you to then also find purpose in your day-to-day life, because that purpose is something that you do, that you also action, and that you are. So it's got to do with you as a person, how the Lord wants to use you, your personality, your gifts, how his Spirit wants to live through you and around you, because you are placed in a certain place and position on purpose as well. So it just anchors you a lot. I'm getting messages that I have skipped some comments here, so let me just go back. Sorry, Dalian, I have missed your comment. Oopsie. Let me read your comment and then. Okay, so it says, back to the man and the woman. Man and woman has baby together, not married. The woman use baby as a weapon, has refused the dad contact with baby in the past. She realized it is not best for the baby. The dad, in order for him to protect himself, walked away, and now it's impossible to speak to him about turning around the situation in best interest of baby. How do I help them? The dad has a lot of anger towards the mom for depriving him from his child. Okay, it seems like there has to be some kind of mediation, because that's a very delicate situation, and indeed the baby's best interests, if you look at the law as well, the baby's best interests would be the primary focus, would be what is the baby's best interests, and then to take that and to focus on that and to say, okay, what is the most important for the baby, and then to say, because ideally it would be the ideal would be to have a dad and a mom that work together in raising the child, and that they have co-joint. But what one can do there is to say, would you consider speaking to somebody neutral? Would you consider to do that, and just voice your concerns and let that person assist in to see if there be any mediation? Because it would be a pity and a tragedy if over the long run, the course of the years, the baby and yourself would lose out on contact with each other. Now, that being said, if the dad has serious mental health problems, or there's serious drug abuse or violence, then obviously there has to be certain serious limitations and boundaries put in place. But it's important for somebody, a third party like a mediator, to be involved there, like a social worker, or even somebody who specializes in that. And then from there on, if that is successful, for them to maybe actually appoint somebody who can act as a parental facilitator between the parents. You actually have this these days, where somebody acts as a parental facilitator between the husband and the wife and facilitates that interaction. But the best way is to address that. Then there's another comment I've seen. Madeleine said, when becoming defensive or being the victim in a confrontational situation, might this be a reflection on trauma, childhood trauma that has not been dealt with? Yes, that is also a good comment, because when you're defensive, my professor used to say, if you're defensive, you're going to lose the interaction, meaning you're going to screw it up. So defensiveness doesn't work, and it can point to some insecurities or some unresolved issues of the past that might be triggered in the present. You might have pressed a little on a nerve there. It also might point to a lack of insight into their own share in the interaction. It might also point to being blamed. So when you have received a blame from somebody in your relationship, and you defend yourself, because a blame elicits defense. So it can point to a number of things with that person being defensive. It could be that they're usually, if you're defensive, you have to check out, why am I defensive? It might be that there's unresolved issues. It might be insecurity. It might be just a lack of skills or a lack of insight as to how they are communicating. And because it can be communication skills as well, that they're not clearly expressing themselves. And then it might be that they've received a blame and that they are defending themselves in that way. Also pointing to a lack of what we call meta communication skills. That means communicating about the communication, saying, listen, the communication is not effective. I've just received a blame. Could you please state it differently? Or I can hear this, I can understand this. So to develop your communication skills is actually crucial in order to address that. But yes, unresolved issues from the past, being if you are insecure about your own identity, if you easily misinterpret. Let me see if I can find it. I just had it the other day where I let me see, I'm going to open it up now, where defensiveness, and I mentioned two things that defensiveness in communication actually causes, because you to misinterpret communication. So let me just find that place. I did a presentation the other day okay, here it is. So when you are defensive, it does have that uncertainty. The person seems uncertain as to how to handle the situation. Usually what could happen, and this is clinical stuff, is that they might twist questions asked to them. They might hear it as blames. And that might allude to a past experience of criticism. Or if you answer them and you give just a clear answer, that might be seen as you are justifying yourself. Now this is difficult, because when I have to observe a couple in communication to just see what's happening here. Because if I've seen, let's say the one partner is explaining something, they're not blaming, they're explaining, and the other one is acting defensively, then I ask them, what have you heard them say? Because have they now turned the explanation into a blame? Have they heard a blame, whereas it was an explanation? But I then have to make sure that this was really an explanation, and it wasn't an explanation said in a blaming way, because you can do that with your tone of voice. Yeah, I'm just saying this and this and that, but it's in a minute, but you're actually defending and you're also attacking. Being empathic and being humble in that sense, and being clear, and just being an adult in how you communicate. when that kind of communication is misread or misheard as a blame, that's where you can say, okay, but that defensiveness, there's something there where they are interpreting it. Now, what I've seen in my own marriages is that we used to blame, and I also had an insecurity because I used to be criticized from my own childhood years. So sitting with defensiveness already and a sensitivity to that, so a possible trigger, and then my wife would communicate something, but in a blaming way. So it would be both, and then we would have that friendly interaction. It would be very unfriendly. In any case. Okay, so I think that answers the question. You can also follow us on our Facebook page and check out all the nice things that Jessica has created for us on ADHD. And go and have a look at our YouTube channel, Matters of the Soul, and website to go and have a look at all of the other programs. There are hundreds, literally, I think 330 or so programs on our YouTube channel, Matters of the Soul. And you're welcome to go and have a look there. Great stuff. It was nice spending time with you tonight. God bless, and speak to you again. And you're welcome to also send me questions. Just send it through Messenger, or you can even email me, Erich at mattersofthesoul.org, ERICH at mattersofthesoul.org. God bless. Goodbye.